Madison, look, you're right what you said. There's a lot of martial arts schools. And I think our take on it and your take on our take on it is right for a lot of people and really, really improve the lives of a lot of people. And
it has.
Whether it's about self-defense and all of that stuff, okay, fine. But it's so much more than that. The health and wellness aspect, all the brain activity and everything that you're doing down there is just fantastic.
Well, thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks here.
Hello and welcome to the Weight Free Wellness Podcast. I'm Tara Bachland and today's episode is by contributing podcaster Guro Rick Faye. He is the founder of the Minnesota Collie Group and in MKG International, and today he's talking with Josh Pryor of MKG Madison, Wisconsin. He's a head instructor and founder there. We've got some great guests coming up with Guro Rick Faye, and you definitely don't want to miss out on those. Whether you're into martial arts or just health and wellness in general, there's always some really great insights to gain. Make sure to get those by subscribing wherever you're watching or listening, whether that's YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, so forth. You can also subscribe to the Weight Free Wellness newsletter and get a monthly summary of these and other helpful wellness-based podcasts as well. You can do that at weightfreewellness.com, and we treat our subscribers well, so you'll enjoy some other goodies as well. So here is Guro Rick Faye and Josh Pryor with another terrific podcast. Enjoy.
Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Rick Faye. I own a thing called the Minnesota Collie Group. MKG is a worldwide martial arts organization, and we've been around for 30-some years. Our focus now really is training a whole spectrum of regular folks for everything from self-defense to health to you name it. It's a great recreational activity. It's a great developmental tool. And with me today is Josh Pryor. He runs our Madison branch, Madison, Wisconsin. Josh, I've known you for, I don't know how many years now. All the way back to those camps.
Yep, probably 2007 or something like that, I think, is the first time
We're getting old. That's 10 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been quite a bit. It's been a fun ride, though, I'll tell you what.
For the people who don't know Josh, he's one of my favorite people. So he has had quite a journey in both life and martial arts, and we'll try to highlight some of that a little bit today. Josh, why don't you just can you just tell your background, how you started in martial art? Go way back, go all the way back.
Okay, so I started martial arts, just like a lot of people when they were a kid. I tried it when I was 7, and I did, the traditional martial arts thing. I did it for a little while, and it was like they had on testing day, how they have the kids break the boards.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they wanted me to break a board. I didn't want to. So I cried and I quit. I mean, that was it when I was 7 years old. To this day, I don't know why I didn't want to. It just didn't seem right, and I didn't want to do it. And they were really on me about doing it, and I just didn't. So I ended up playing T-ball or something like that instead.
Perfect.
I got back to it when I was like in my 20s, early 20s, 22 maybe.
Okay.
And I was lucky enough to find a person or run into a friend that had Inosanto lineage and Collie lineage and JKD lineage. His name was Jeff. We don't really talk anymore, but he's the one that gave me a passion for martial arts, and I'm always thankful for that. And so my real martial arts has always been JKD, since I started when I was like 22. So I remember my first time I was in his driveway, like a lot of us probably did in driveways or garages and stuff.
Yeah.
And I did 6 counts in a wally. That was my first day. And we did it on these round barrel things where you have to balance on them.
Oh.
So they would kind of roll back and forth, and you'd have to try to do it. I fell on busted my elbow on the concrete a couple times, but got me hooked enough to where I'm still doing it here, almost 20 years later.
Yeah. Well, a lot of us started in the garage, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Not a driveway or something like that. That's definitely true. So there's a lot of people that will listen to this who are not necessarily martial artists. And your sort of take on the art that we do, I've watched it evolve, and I like your take on what we actually do. So for those people watching who are not in martial art, Kali and JKD is kind of the umbrella terms for the things we do. And JKD was founded by the late Bruce Lee and carried on by Dan Inosanto. Kali is an umbrella term for all the Filipino martial arts. And it's a vast spectrum of all types of training and everything from different types of weaponry, different types of empty hand, groundwork. There's all sorts of things that we do. And I've watched it evolve from the early days when we were more worried about street, right? We were more worried about what if we get in a fight on the street? And then it comes up to the MMA generation. A lot of the guys took it into the MMA arena. And our organization, I really like sort of where we're headed with a more health-based approach, a more developmental approach, making it more accessible for all kinds of people, not just 20-year-old thumpers. Anyways, but that's my little take for the people who are watching. And can you just give them your take on your whole art, just your spectrum of what you do?
Well, a lot of it comes from you, really. I mean, a lot of it. So it's JKD to begin with, and then I fell in love with Kali. But like you said, I'm 6'3". I'm a big dude. I really don't run into problems. I've never really had any reason to have a self-defense aspect for it. I mean, obviously, all the stuff that we do is very practical.
Sure.
Can work. But I just loved it. I just thought it was fun. That's the biggest thing. And it kept me moving. It kept me doing something that I always thought would be cool, but I didn't realize how cool it could be. So, you watch the movies and think, oh, that'd be neat to do. And then here I am doing it, not years and, not very long later as soon as I get started. And so a lot of people come into it with this idea of either, fitness, which is one thing, which again is very important. Function, which, we took self-defense kind of aspects, or where I came from was a little less self-defense. I think people mix those two things of street fighting and self-defense.
Right.
They kind of think they're the same thing when they're not.
They're not, yeah.
And then there's people that just do it for fun and because they love the culture and love what it actually helps them become.
Well, that's I've watched you over the years, especially at camp and things like that. We'll talk about going in a little bit, but you really seem to enjoy what you do. You're not overly serious. But you're getting the work done and you enjoy it. And I like watching that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's what I try to carry on with all my guys here. And that's one of the things I got from MKG is when, I don't know if you know this, well, I'm sure you kind of do, but don't know the extent of it. The first time it came up was kind of one of those instructor conference and Guro Inosanto seminar things that we put together. Mm-hmm. And I was going up with a friend of mine, and I just thought it was a martial arts instructors camp or, thing, not an MKG instructors conference.
I see.
So I really didn't belong there. Is where I'm getting at. But the cool thing is everybody was having fun and nobody made me feel like I didn't belong.
Right.
And that's one of the first things that caught me. Obviously, the martial arts was world class, and you look around and you're like, holy crap, who are all these people? And they're all awesome. And I was probably a lot younger and probably a little cocky at the time. Mm. But everybody made me feel welcome. And everybody was just having a good time. And I think looking back at it as a kid, that's kind of what I wanted. As I look back when I was 7, I didn't know why it was that way. But everything was so serious and everything was, breaking the board and doing this. And it didn't fit for me. And then somehow I find MKG and JKD in general and find it a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more laid back. We get a lot of work done. And still have fun doing it. It's not stressful. It's stress relieving. And so that's kind of my take on the whole thing. And that's kind of why that's what we do here at our schools. I have a lot of, we're growing a lot recently. Like since January, I've had a lot of new people coming in, more than I think I've ever really had. And that's the thing I emphasize the most is the community. That's the most over everything else. Martial arts are cool. You're going to love it. But the people that are here are the ones that are going to keep you here, because they want your improvement. They want what's good for you. Not what they don't want us to. I don't want them to be a cookie cutter of me. I just want what's good for you. And then all the people are here to help support that and challenge you and support you in it. So. Yeah.
No, that's one of the aspects of what we do that I like the best. You obviously have the individual nature of the art, so that we for those people watching art martial artists, this set of things we do is tailored to each individual student. And so people pick out methods that they're good at, methods that they like. Sometimes those are the same. So you have some people who like the things they're good at. You have some people who are not liking things that they're not too good at. The funny ones to me are the ones where they mix it. So they really like something that they're not too good at. Right. They don't like something and they're really actually pretty good at it.
Right.
I have that all the time. People will say, yeah, I've really been working on my stick work. And you look at them and you go, hey, okay. Glad you're having fun.
Yeah, I think that's my grappling. I kind of like it, but I'm not terribly great at it. So
you'll do some of it. That's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So my personal fascination lately has been this brain effect. Mm-hmm. That sorry, I'm stuffed up trying to speak, but this brain effect that the double stick work has.
Yeah.
So for the non-martial artists watching, we train with 2 sticks, double stick. And can you describe what that looks like at your school, the double stick work?
So the double stick work is, and the way I explain it to my students, is coordination first. That's the base of why we do it. Like, why are you swinging around sticks? Because if you're right-handed, the world is made for you. And so your left side of your brain is working hard, and the right side of your brain that controls the left side of your body is a little, I don't know, I wouldn't say that. It just doesn't get the workout. So what we're trying to do is even that out. So we do double stick just about every phase class, every weaponry class. Yeah. We developed a program at our class at the school called a foundations program. Oh. And that's just like, it's like pre-phase kind of. And you're doing it too with the
fundamentals class.
Yeah, with the fundamentals class, same thing, same idea. And but we explained to them double stick is probably the most beneficial thing you can do for health and wellness, and then your brain, the cognitive part of it. And we've talked about this over the years that there's some magic with it. We didn't know, we just knew it worked. We didn't know why it worked or how it worked. And now there's a gentleman, Paul McCarthy, and some other guys that are doing some research and really making it a little bit more public. It's always
I'm actually meeting with him next weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Get together. And the science is really what we always knew. We talked about this many times, but we always knew just intrinsically as you swing 2 sticks and you're doing these things, the science is coming up underneath us now.
Yeah.
And what I'm hopeful of is that they're going to start identifying actual motions, and really tie it to an exact brain effect. Oh. They've done some of that. I looked at it's a doctor talking about stroke patients. Mm-hmm. But what they said is that they need cross-lateral bimanual, which means across the body with both hands. Mm. And I'm sitting there thinking, gee, I wonder where you would find something like that.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It is what we do. And for those people watching, I think most, when you say wellness or health, most people think of weight loss. Mm. And I know you've got a couple fantastic stories down there of that. We'll get to that. But really, the effect on your brain and the effect on your well-being or sense of well-being, that's the part that I like to watch. I see it in all you guys.
No, I feel it. And that's why I attribute a lot of my I'm not anybody special or anything like that, but I know I have a capacity. I have a weird capacity for, at least for martial arts stuff. Mm-hmm. Obviously because I love it. And then a weird capacity to recall things relatively quickly. I don't really have any other reason, because I'm not that smart of a guy, other than to say that I think the double stick has really created a lot of different connections in my brain, which allow me to have a bigger reservoir to put things into and allow me to access it faster because there's more pathways to get to it. Right. And so, and I'm not a neurologist or anything like that, but it seems to make sense. It's like that Kali magic that we've had before that we talk about. And the double stick thing is something I pick up every day. I mean, every day I'm doing 5, 10, 15 minutes. I mean, on my own, not only just in class, just because it helps generate my brain going. Because if I get in front of a computer or I got to type something or write something, I'm not good at that stuff. But if I do double stick, it kind of warms the brain up. It gets everything going. It seems to kind of grease the wheels as we go in. And so I can go back and sit down and actually get something done. I don't know if that's true or just psychosomatic or whatever, but
it's not. I can back you up. And what I'll do, by the way, in a future podcast here, I'll stand back here in my office and show some patterning and things so that people that are watching this that aren't martial artists could also benefit. But I was going to tell you, my son is a creative in the advertising business. So they call him a creative. That's what they're labeled. And when he hits a roadblock, he picks up 2 sticks. And sure enough, something will come up. You know, again, it's that idea of connections going on in the brain. And I really want to, over the next few of these and with you today, just emphasize that there's so much more to this health and wellness within the martial arts than just getting in shape or losing weight.
Well, I think the mental part of it is a huge part of the giving you the confidence to do all the physical stuff. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you feel good, you feel confident, you know, you do something complicated that's maybe, we all know double stick. I mean, maybe the people aren't watching don't know, but double stick work can be a huge workout, like physically, cardiovascular, all that stuff can be a massive workout. But it really works the brain, and it could be very mild, like conditioning wise, but very intense on the brain. And when my experience is when I see people pick a pattern up that maybe is new or that they haven't, that they look at it and say, I'll never be able to do that. And then they actually end up doing that. It gives them the confidence to do other things they didn't think they could do. And the double stick thing, the funny thing about, again, I'm not a neurologist, but you know, the funny thing about the brain is that you pick it up faster than you think you will. I think. I mean, there's some, and that's pretty much across the board. I think, you know, obviously everybody learns at a different pace, but we get them working. In my experience, you get them working with the double stick and give them a little rhythm and allow everything to kind of settle into place. It actually happens a lot faster, and they're very impressed with themselves and very confident and happy that they can do it. And that allows them to, you know, maybe do things that are a lot more challenging physically.
No, I agree. Yeah. So the other part of the not just double stick, but the weaponry in general that I've been really bringing out in seminars and in classes is the connection to empty hand movement.
Yeah.
You know, when you work with the stick work or you work with the knife work or whatever, you really are programming these. You're programming your hands and your body. And I definitely enjoy that. So speaking of body changes, you've got a couple of people who've made just incredible changes, and I thought I'd let you just brag a bit about.
Yeah. There's, I mean, the one that I think maybe the one that you're really pointing out is Andrew. He's one of my students.
Yeah, I just wanted you to talk about him for a minute, because
Andrew, he came to me 2 years ago, maybe a little over 2 years ago.
Okay.
And very quiet. I wouldn't say quiet, awkward. We'll just say that's the best way. Just socially kind of, but he's enough to get him out there and try something new, which was a huge thing for him, just to walk in the door.
Right.
And when he walked in the door, he was a large person. I'm a big guy, so when I say large, you know, he was bigger than me. And he was, I think, we'll just say over 400 pounds.
Yep.
And so through martial arts, what he says now, and I use this all the time because I think it's awesome. He trained martial arts to lose weight. Now he's losing weight to train martial arts.
I saw that quote. I think that's great.
I think it's the greatest thing. Yeah. But he came in because he tried all the other stuff. He tried the weightlifting, the running, and he just didn't stick with it. There wasn't anything that he could do. Or he could do, but it just wasn't interesting. Mm-hmm. And then he started doing martial arts, and he started seeing some changes just physically, and he was enjoying what he was doing, and he was learning something, like you said, the confidence and stuff that he maybe didn't have before was starting to kick in. And anyway, he got down to 186 pounds over 2 years. Wow. And again, Some of it was really healthy. It's not just, again, I don't want to give the wrong idea. He was a very driven individual.
Right.
This is the exception. Like, this is the holy cow. This is what could happen. But he was a very driven individual. He was in class all the time, and he changed his eating habits and all that stuff. And then he actually had 4 Thai boxing. I don't know if you knew that. He had 4 Thai boxing fights.
I saw that.
In the last year. He did the Hour Club test and the 10-round test. For those of you guys that aren't watching, those are pretty grueling, voluntary tests.
Thank you for voluntary.
Yeah. They're not anything that MKG it's in the curriculum as far as something that you can do, but like Rick said before, everything is individual. Yeah. You can chase after it if you want to, or if that's something you're not interested in or are not able to do at the given time. It's not a big deal. Nobody's going to jump on it, but he wanted to. So
I love this story because you're right what you just said. It's if you want to use martial art as a vehicle for weight loss. Mm-hmm. Our best story, and we miss him dearly, but that was Patrick.
Yeah.
I mean, he came in big, and really, really went to work and lost the weight, and that's wonderful. So, but I like the Andrew story. And for those of you listening or watching, Andrew's a wonderful guy, and he's just an example of using martial art as a vehicle. It's much more interesting. I was quoting a guy the other day. We started a double stick drill, and we're running back and forth on the floor, and I said, do you get it? Do you get it? And he goes, yeah, it's kind of boring, though. I said, boring? You just got off the treadmill.
Yeah.
That's boring. Right. This is at least interesting. So.
No, and that's what Rick, Andrew kind of found out of the whole thing is he was bored lifting weights and running outside, and it just wasn't anything that kept his attention. But he started, I think it was C-Lock was one of the first things he started doing.
Is that right? Oh.
Yeah, one of the things he did, he first kind of really enjoyed. Now he just loves the Thai boxing. I relate what you say with Guro Dan, when you flow in and out of the arts. It seems like Guro Dan flows out of the art and into Kali.
Yeah, that's right. Flows out of a lot of arts and into Kali.
That's Andrew, but it seems like everything he does it, and then everything flows into Thai boxing for him right now, which is great. And that'll change, and obviously as we all change and move and find different things that our body can do and can't do, it'll change. But right now that's where he is, and because he loves it, and he's really put a lot of effort and time. Not only did he do a lot with us, but because we're, like you talk about, we train more with everyday people and not so much competitive people, he actually took the time, the money, and the effort because of his dedication to himself in martial arts to travel every weekend to go work with a crew that is competing.
He went over to Dean's group, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he went down to Dubuque, which is like 2 hours or an hour and a half from us every weekend.
So for the people watching, Dean Lessie is another success story. When I met Dean, he was a big fat guy. He was a big guy, and maybe fat would be exaggerated, but he was way bigger than he wanted to be, and way bigger than he is now. And I remember the day he started. That's huge, yeah. And now he's a gem. So these kind of stories really are interesting to me.
Yeah.
So we went from there. Now body changes. I'll just tell you right out that my body's changing a lot. So, between arthritis and whatever, and, you got kids you're worried about and not sleeping and whatever else, how this is.
Right. Yeah, I got 4 of them. I
know I've had to, you have wonderful kids, by the way, but I've had to alter my training quite a bit, pay attention to my joints, better warm up, stretching, all of that stuff, that just is a necessity. Whereas before I could walk in and go, all right, let's hit a Thai pad. Or let's wrestle or whatever. That just is not possible for me now. So, where are you on the spectrum here? Are your body changing? What's going on with training and all that?
Yeah. So, like I have a bad back. You've seen me through my good times and my really, really hard times with my back.
Right.
And that's led to hip issues too. So I had hip surgery. I don't know, 2 years ago. I can't remember, 2 or 3 years ago.
I remember when you went through it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But like we're talking about martial arts and body changes, that's martial arts is what keeps me from getting worse.
Yep.
So my back injury happened when I was like 19 years old. I was very young. So, and then I really, I played a lot of basketball before I had the gym and all that kind of stuff. I was working out outside, digging ditches, climbing poles, all this kind of stuff that really is pretty hard on your body. And I wasn't particularly taking very good care of it. Mm-hmm. But once I started getting into martial arts, I see all the different people, especially in the MKG family, because there's all different shapes, sizes, ages, ranges, abilities, challenges. It was just an encouragement to me that I could be who I was and use martial art to gradually change my body. Oh, right. And not necessarily change it get to be 175 pounds, which I don't think that could ever happen for me because I'm just built too wide.
Was it you that said, was it you? No, it wasn't you. It might have been Atticus or Big Todd. I remember I asked him, there was a question in the class. I'm trying to think of the quote, but I said something about 150 or 180 or something. And I said, what do you call 180? And he goes, call that 8th grade.
Yeah, right. Yep, yeah, that's me too. Yeah, I don't know if I said that, but that's definitely true for me. But I've used, but my body changes is like the grappling and stuff. I can't really, I struggle back and forth with it because I want to keep my foot in it, but I have to do it very carefully because I have so many other things I got to take care of right now between the school. If I can't walk or move around very well, then the school's going to suffer a little bit. So, but the double stick, all the shadow boxing, I'm really putting a lot of time into it because I have a sciatic issue, and that makes it so the rest of the night I can just move and not even have any pain.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I have to move, yeah, it's really I'm very much like Andrew in the fact that I've tried other things and nothing kept my attention like this does, and this keeps my attention pretty much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm thinking martial arts, moving around, doing something.
Yeah.
Even if it's just sitting in my chair and going through movements or whatever. But that keeps me motivated to be able to keep doing this thing. And then also seeing guys like Andrew and then Atticus, who's made a huge change. If you guys don't know, he's one of the few people that I got to roll with that I actually found out what it is to roll with a big guy. Because I'm always the big guy,
Now you know how we feel.
Yeah, now I know how everybody else feels, and it was horrible. So
yeah.
But
you just hit on a bunch of points here. So one of the things that I feel blessed with is the sort of breadth of the art that we've been given. The amount of things that there are to work on, to learn, to maintain, all of this stuff is, I know that's what's keeping me young. And, when we talk about trying to stay young, a lot of times just staying even is actually beating Father Time, because time is trying to make a decline, right?
Sure.
And, those of us who are active and in this art, I really believe it's the fountain of youth. I think what we've been given is just such a blessing.
Yeah, the cool thing about it is there's always something you can do. When there's something that you can't do, there's always 100 other things that you could do or you can do. So for kicking for a while for me was very difficult. Kicking was hard.
I saw that.
But I can always punch things, and I can always do but I can always swing a stick. There's always something. And then if, when my back was bothering me, if I couldn't stand up there's a couple of times in my life where it's very difficult to stand up. I'd lay on my back and start doing motions and stuff like that while I could do that. Sitting in a chair, like right now, that's the hardest thing right now. I could stand up, I can lay down, but sitting in a chair is difficult. So
well, that's me too. That's definitely me too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can, like you said, the breadth of the art, the width and the depth of it.
Yeah.
And then having somebody like Guro Dan, who's 80 plus years old, moving around and saying, just move, just figure out what you can do and move.
Yeah.
It's always a challenge and encouragement at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what
so you're hurt, huh? And then you're like, yeah, like you talk about when you see Danae or Daniel.
Yep.
When he comes in, he's in a wheelchair. So
Oh.
So your knees hurt, huh? Or my back hurts, huh? Shh, just go over there and move.
So Wednesday, he comes in Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right? Tuesday, I had some trouble moving on the ground. I was trying to do my groundwork on the mat. And I was, stupid enough to whine about it a little bit, and like, oh, gee, I'm having trouble bridging and I'm having trouble. So what does Danny do? He comes in, gets out of his wheelchair and works on movement on the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, I get it. No more whining.
Yeah. There's always something you can do. That's the whole point of this. The art is so big, and the art that's been given to us that you've given me, and then Guru Dad has given me through you, and directly from him has made it so there's never something I can't do. Yeah. So I'll be doing this until I'm not moving at all. Right. Something. So, when there's other arts that are out there that once you've got to a point where your body doesn't like doing anymore, you can't do that art anymore.
And what a tremendous vehicle for, I just feel blessed that it's allowed me to reach so many people. I mean, I have days where I think you're aware that I work with some football players. So I have days where I'm with an NFL football player or players, and then I have a basic martial art class all the way down to just, kids and whatever. I mean, it's just such a wide vehicle to affect people, and you're affecting everyone positively. That's the fun part about it.
And you talk about kids. I mean, I kind of want to touch back on the double stick thing real quick and my kids. Yeah. So, one of the things that I feel like I have to contribute to the MKG organization, and again, I'm blessed to be a part of it, and I always want to try to figure out a way to give back. I think the kids was something I can do, because I have 4 kids, and they've trained with me since they were 4 to 7 years old. But the one thing, we go back to the double stick, is that if we can get them started doing double stick early, what kind of brain, what kind of capacity will they have when they're 20,
right,
30,
right,
40? And I was always nervous about giving mixed messages about weaponry. Mm-hmm. So for the first 5 years of me teaching, I just, I don't want to put a stick in their hand.
I understand.
One, I kind of didn't trust them. Sure. 2, I didn't want them to think, because we do, some of the double stick stuff we do and the single stick stuff has combative elements to it, but we don't focus on it. But I always got in my head, I was so afraid about that they would take the combative elements to it. But the longer I get in this, and the more I see there's stuff that we can do, and all the positive benefits outside of any combative thought or thing, that the kids needed it more. Yeah. And you should see it. I only started probably 6 months ago or so. No, wait, 8 months ago, I really started putting it in. Oh, the kids their left and right side's awesome. They're picking things up faster. They're more focused in class. Boy. It's amazing. And we talk about affecting people. Yeah. To me, if we can affect, like you say, create more peaceful, functional people for a more peaceful, functional world. If I get it when they're 7, when they're 5,
right,
and we can affect how they look at the world and how they move through the world, physically and socially, the world's going to be that much better.
Sure.
In the future. And so we're really, that's something that I'm really having kids myself, and then obviously working with, a dozen and a half kids or so like that at my school. It's a really important thing. And so you say when you affect people, I always go back to those kids. I affect adults a lot too, obviously, but getting the kids early and allowing them to have see the world in a bigger scope, have the capacity to do that actually mentally and socially it's pretty huge.
I think that also just, for adults is what I do, obviously, and, you're just great with the kids. But to have somebody who is involved in developing what is a violent capability, and to have that person tell you that violence is not okay, that's a real powerful message. Yeah. When someone who doesn't have that says it, it's not as powerful as when someone who obviously can do a lot of things and has skills. And then they say, I said in one of the podcasts here, one of the first ones, I said, I think I'm the only martial arts instructor out there who's telling people it's not okay to punch somebody in the face. Right. And, I think with kids, we can really get that message across, that because so much of their life is being, or they're exposed to real disrespect and quick temper, violence, that kind of thing. And you're obviously the opposite of all that, and somebody they look up to. So I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, I'm changing our program a little bit to have it kind of mimic the Faye's program a little bit. Mm-hmm. So we do a lot of the stuff we do in Faye's, just in smaller bites, but the attitude is still the same. Because like you said, even with adults, I'm not really interested in teaching them how to hurt somebody, or I just want them to move and enjoy it. And having a side benefit of it is having something that they're moving into actually can defend themselves if they needed it. But I think what Guru Dan says and what you guys say is we have to trust that our training will take over when it has to.
Yeah.
We have to trust that, because if we we train in that dark space. So, I think you did, and I know I did. I know I had an instructor earlier before we met that was kind of had a big PFS kind of a background. And so in my experience with my PFS training, we spent a lot of time in the dark. And I just mean in the negatives, and kind of thinking about, and I'm pretty sure that's not the way it is anymore, but I think at one point it was kind of that way. And it just made me not a better person. I could fight,
sure, but
I wasn't a better person.
Right.
And having the MKG, your curriculum, your influence was a huge turning point in my life, and saying, I could still do this stuff that I really like, I really enjoy, and be a better person, a better person.
Yeah.
I think I like that. I think I prefer that. There's sunshine. There's not dark all the time,
Yeah.
And then sharing that, having the kids do stuff that if they needed to, because the world is not as safe as maybe it used to be.
Right.
But they don't have to think about it all the time. They can just have the movements and have their bodies, the muscle memory kind of kick in if it had to.
Yeah. But you're right about the reality too. I had a good friend of my father's, and he used to coach at one of the inner city schools here. Mm-hmm. And what he's noticed about the youth today is, kids are kids. They're not any tougher than they used to be, or they're not any different. The only difference is they're more willing.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that goes on now that, whereas we might have hesitated before, they don't hesitate now.
No. I think, I don't know if that's a product of, well, I don't want to ever necessarily blame the kids because the kids follow what the adults do.
Right.
And so I think that maybe a little bit of product of my generation, being a little less respectful to the people around them, a little less helpful. I don't know what the best word is, but I don't know. For whatever reason, I think we can't necessarily blame the kids of this generation for the problems that they're having, because they're just following the things that we taught them. So, and I think that part of it is just is a slow decline in just general respect for one another. I don't know. I don't want to say that because that's not everybody, but I think it's a society.
It's not everybody, but I would also point to the media influences that they have. These computers, and I know we're on a computer right now, but boy, if I could do anything or recommend anything for anybody's kids, it's take the damn computer away. Take the computer away, take the computer away,
Sure. Yeah, they have access to anything they want right now. I mean, and so all the prep work of researching thing and trying to figure things out and having to go through it, I think is, they just pick up their phone and then they got the information, so they don't have to work as hard. I was talking to my son about my 16-year-old about that the other day. And I said, it's not your fault. You just have everything at your fingertips now. So you don't have to work for it. It's not, and again, it's not your fault, but it's there. And so what my job as a dad and as an instructor for the kids is to remind them that the struggle, the frustration, the challenging part is where all the learning happens.
Yeah.
Is where all the growth happens. And so if something's put in your pocket, put in your hand, and you have it, you don't have to work for it, and you don't have any respect for it either. You don't have.
It's not true.
You don't understand what you have, and you don't understand how precious it is because you didn't have to work for it. And so we talk about that with the kids a lot recently, because the double stick stuff was really challenging to them.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, that's good, because that means you're putting yourself out there, you're getting outside of your normal everyday stuff, and you're challenging yourself. And now look where you're at. You can do it now. And they're proud of that. Huh. And they have respect for what they're doing now. They realize that. Yeah.
I saw a recent study there's a recent study I read about attention span. And they think attention span back at the turn of the 20th century, so 1900, attention span was between 20 and 30 minutes. Okay. They think the attention span of our youth right now is about 9 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's true. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So if we can get them to focus on whatever it is, stick work, The other one I always think about is they talk about present moment consciousness. Okay. And when someone's swinging a stick at you, there's a lot of present moment consciousness. Yep. You have to be right here. So
that's one of the things I love about martial arts. It makes me leave everything that was happening before at the door and leave. And I can't think about anything that's happening afterwards. Sure. Otherwise I mess up, get hit in the hand with a stick, or hit somebody else in the hand with a stick, or something like that. You get an instant feedback when you're not focused.
It takes focus, yeah.
Yeah, you get instant feedback. So that's one of the biggest things I love about martial arts is that it makes me live in the moment, makes me live in the now, and not be concerned with the past or the future for the hour that you're training or however long you're training. You have to be there now. Otherwise, if you're not, it's very obvious.
So speaking of the future, what's coming up in the future for you? What are you doing with your school? What's happening?
So with the school, well, obviously you're coming, which everybody's really excited about. April 22nd, 23rd, we're going to be here in Madison, and it's going to be super excited. I'm excited and nervous. I always am. But it's going to be a great time. As far as the school's going, we're trying some new things. Business-wise, I'm not. That's part of the story is that I never planned to own a school. I always planned to just either teach for somebody else or just keep training. But I had a choice to make somewhere. I call it a forced opportunity, somewhere down the line. And but now I'm really trying to be a little bit more of a business person because what we have is so special. What MKG is so special. And for those of you guys that are watching that don't know, there's a lot of martial arts schools out there. There are a lot of different places out there. And I've seen a couple. None of them are like this. None of them are like what Rick has really put his time and energy into developing as far as the martial arts side of it for sure, but also the culture. And
that's important.
Yeah, and I do that more than anything. I tell them when I have new students come in, that's what I tell them. I put as much work, if not more work, into developing the culture that we have that resembles what I felt like I got when I went to MKG for the first time than I do anything else. And so people need to know about that, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And for that to happen, I have to be a little bit more of a business person, I think. Because if it was just me, I did a thing with Mick back in September, and I remember us talking about that we're kind of selfish, unintentionally selfish. We have this thing, we just put our head down and train.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I mean? It's not we just put our head down and train because we love what we do and we're not doing anything, but we're not. A lot of us in this family are just so excited to just do it. We have a hard time looking outward to say, come here, come in, you got to see this cool thing. And that's what we're doing. So trying to figure out different business ways to make people see MKG as another avenue for training martial arts and maybe build a community or a social circle that you wouldn't have that you could actually get something out of, both mentally and physically and emotionally. Also trying to figure out, I don't know, I think we've talked about this before in the Phase program, because that's like the core program at MKG.
Sure.
We've talked about that. It's awesome. I train it all the time when I'm shadowboxing. I'm pretty much doing Phase 1 stuff. But it is a lot. It's a lot of information. And I think my students, I learned from my students, they said, you know what I would have liked to have known before I got into Phase 1? And they're telling me about, a bunch of different things. I wish, and we're developing a way to, what they say in the business world, I guess, is lower the barrier of entry for people. So that's our foundations program, and that's really taking off. That's been bigger than some of my other classes lately. Yeah. And because people feel like they can build their confidence and get the basic ideas in.
I think that's important, because we've always had the startup pace is pretty heavy. You're sort of you jump in the deep end, and
right. And there's people that have had martial arts background that appreciate that. Yeah. But that's like you said, we want everyday people that have never done martial arts. I just had this week, interesting, 27-year-old young man, 58-year-old woman, two 17-year-old girls, and a 32-year-old guy all come in this week. So think about the range of that. Right. But they're all starting in that foundations class to get their confidence levels up so they can feel like they can jump in the rest of it. So we're really working on that. We're really working on trying to find a way to show what MKG can be and what it is and what it can be like, as far as a social circle and a family. Yeah. And really let people know, because it is special. And thank you. I don't know how many times I get to say that. Thank you for putting the time into it and actually trusting me with it. So
you are an easy guy to trust. I have a lot of faith in you. And like I say, I'm glad people get to hear your approach here. So we're probably running out of time. Okay. Yeah. So if this gets to anybody in the Madison area, how do they find you?
So we're at mkgmadison.com. It's our website. The phone number, if you want to get a hold of us, is 608-222-0377. Or you can find us on Facebook. I think we have a Twitter. I think we have an Instagram. But MKG Madison will be, if you look us up in Madison, that'll come up, and we'd love to have you.
Or they can just hack my phone and it's under Josh.
There you go. Yep, there it is. Yeah, we'd love to have as many people in. Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, and I'm honored to know you. I think an awful lot of you. That's why I wanted to get you on here. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but I've only done one other one, and that was Greg Nelson.
Oh, really?
Number 2 in the line here.
Oh, now I'm all freaking red-faced and embarrassed and stuff. I really, that's an honor. I really appreciate it.
I think the world of what you're doing, and Madison's lucky. You're right what you said. There's a lot of martial arts schools, and I think our take on it and your take on our take on it is right for a lot of people and really, really improve the lives of a lot of people. And
it has.
Whether it's about self-defense and all of that stuff, okay, fine. But it's so much more than that. The health and wellness aspect, all the brain activity, and everything that you're doing down there is just fantastic.
Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks here.
Me too. We're going to that chicken wing place, right?
If you want to, we can go there.
Oh, boy, do I.
Yeah. All right. Awesome.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.
Have a great day, Judge.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning into the Weight Free Wellness Podcast. Hey, do your friends a favor, and if you loved this podcast, go ahead and share it with them. This is episode 58, so you can find it at weightfreewellness.com, episode 58. You can also share it right from your app or from YouTube where you're listening. Wherever you are, it's pretty easy to share. We would appreciate it, and I'm sure they will also. And if you're feeling extra in the mood to share and give praise, please go to iTunes, where you can give us a great rating and let other people know that this is valuable content and worth their time as well. We would appreciate that tons. And also, we love hearing from you. We're all over on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. And we love hearing from you, what you love, what you want to hear more of, and so forth. So just drop us a line. Also, you can check out MKG Minnesota Collie Group on Facebook as well. They have a lot of great stuff going on as well. So thanks for listening. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.